Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Democrats went at it again last night in the second set of debates in Detroit. At center stage, Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris exchanged barbs, and they weren't the only ones.
The debate turned heated at several points. As Jenna Browder reports, the candidates pounced not only on policy issues, but also on each other's past records.
Night 2 of the Detroit Democratic debate delivered on substance. And as expected, there were quite a few brawls. Former Vice President Joe Biden with this memorable line before the debate even started. But no one went easy on him. Senator Kamala Harris threw some of the first familiar punches, challenging him on issues like race and busing in his long career.
The vice president has still failed to acknowledge that it was wrong to take the position that he took at that time.
Biden shot right back, pointing out how he was vetted by former President Obama.
Barack Obama knew exactly who I was. He had 10 lawyers do a background check on everything about me on civil rights and civil liberties, and he chose me, and he said it was the best decision.
And Biden came out strong against Harris for going back and forth on her health care plan.
You can't beat President Trump with double talk.
Other candidates got a piece of the action, too. Senator Cory Booker went after Biden on criminal justice reform.
Since the 1970s, every major crime bill, major and minor, has had his name on it.
You had a police department you went out and you hired Rudy Giuliani's guy. You engaged in stop and frisk.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor.
Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard took a shot at Harris, a former prosecutor, on the same topic.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people.
Candidates also clashed over immigration, with Biden defending the policies of the Obama administration and saying people who came here illegally should be sent back. Congressman Julian Castro.
It looks like one of us has learned the lessons of the past and one of us hasn't. What we need are politicians that actually have some guts on this issue.
I have guts enough to say his plan doesn't make sense.
And no surprise, President Trump took some knocks, too.
We can no longer allow a white nationalist to be in the White House.
First thing that I'm going to do when I'm president is I'm going to Clorox the Oval Office.
The next debate is in September in Houston, and it's likely only about half of these candidates will make the cut. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Well, CBN chief political analyst David Brody joins us now to talk about the debate. Let's start with last night. Who came out ahead and who took a hit?
Well, all eyes were on Joe Biden, obviously, Gordon. And once again, it was a C performance, average, meddling, or I shouldn't say meddling, but just middle of the road. It was not all that great. Yeah, he was a little bit better than the first debate, but you know, a C performance isn't really going to cut it when you get into the fall. Right now in July, I guess it works, but it wasn't all that great. And Gordon, at the end of the debate, it was just a strange situation in the closing argument. I don't know if people stayed up to the end, but then at the last thing he said was like, go to my, he didn't say website, he said, go to Joe 3033303. I was like, what numbers is he saying? Anyhow, if you go to Joe 30330, you come up with some other website. It's not his website. He meant to say text this word to 30. It was a whole discombobulation for Joe Biden. This is not going to work, Gordon, at all for Joe Biden going forward into the fall.
Well, let's talk about, I think, one of the winners, Tulsi Gabbard. Did she score points? Is she going to be able to rise from this?
Well, Tulsi Gabbard did very well. I gave her an A on my scorecard. I mean, I think only my mom cared about my scorecard, but she got an A. And why? Because she was soothing. She sounded actually very presidential in terms of her delivery. Also a war veteran, very patriotic, a different type of candidate for sure. And, of course, most importantly, she had that just a just a scathing attack on Kamala Harris when it came to her record as a prosecutor, and so that was pretty devastating. So she really did have the whole package. The problem for Tulsi Gabbard is that the more and more people see of her, they're going to bring up a few other things in her past, including with meeting with Bashar al-Assad in Syria, and so that's going to be a potential problem down the road. Do I think she makes it to September? Yes. I mean, you have to have, in essence, double the qualifications to get on the stage that you do now. I think she'll be there. She's intriguing, but I don't think it goes any further than that.
Okay, well, I'll join your mother in being concerned about your scorecard. Anybody else get an A?
It's two of us. I thought Cory Booker did very, very well last night. He had that Kool-Aid line about Joe Biden. I thought that was good. And, you know, Cory Booker, you know, he's, of course, known as Spartacus from the Brett Kavanaugh hearings. And the reason they call him Spartacus for a lot of reasons is because he's a bit high octane. He's got the wide eyes and he gets kind of rambunctious. But last night, it was different. He was a bit calmer. He was smiling more. He kind of lowered down the 5-hour energy drink to about an hour and a half. And it worked for Cory Booker. And once again, he made the news cycle with some attacks on Joe Biden. So I thought it was very good for Cory Booker. Look, Joe Biden, Gordon, was getting incoming from all sorts of sides there, left and right, literally at times. And I will also say this. Kamala Harris, let's talk about her for a quick moment. There was a sign of respect there for her last night because she was getting attacked by Joe Biden, by Tulsi Gabbard, by a few others. And the fact that a lot of folks were attacking Kamala Harris should not be missed because that is an underlying sign of respect that she has a potential path to the White House or at least to the nomination. But it will be difficult for her, though, too.
Well, she's got a new name, Kamala the Kid. Right. Do you think that just shows, I find it unusual that Biden would use that expression in talking to a sitting senator. I mean, I think Biden's one of the big losers last night, and it seems as the night went on, his energy level went down. And
that's a great point. Yeah.
Is he showing his age?
Yeah, I really think he is. You know, I know the president likes to call him Sleepy Joe. I mean, last night he had a Grandpa Joe moment with the whole internet situation with those numbers, and he messed up texting and Googling. So, yes, 100% he's having problems. And here's another big problem for him, and her name is Elizabeth Warren. She has been very impressive. Let's put policy aside for a moment. Let's put the socialism argument to the side. She brings it. She's a school teacher. That is, when I say school teacher, she presents it like a school teacher. She's passionate. She is got it kind of all going on there. And I can just see this right now where Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren are on a stage in November, December. That changes the calculus. Then I think you start to see the difference between what you just said, Gordon, kind of an aging, slower Joe Biden and a sharp as attack Elizabeth Warren. Look, she's got a real shot at this nomination, and I know President Trump likes to call her Pocahontas. Well, he better be careful because this could be revenge of Pocahontas come the general election if she plays her cards right.
Well, it could be the revenge of endless debate. I mean, after two of them, I'm already tired of it. And how many more do we have to go?
They're going to be every single month. The good news is we're not going to get two debates from now on. We'll get one. They'll get down to 10 candidates on stage. But you're right. I mean, last night I just kept looking at my watch and I said to myself, you know, I was on to my third snack and I thought it was going to be literally like longer than Gone with the Wind. And I was very happy that it was not. Though a lot of people would say there was a lot of wind in the air, but that's a different story.
All right. Well, David, for your mother and I, thank you. And thanks for joining us. Well, in other news, U.S. officials believe the heir to Osama bin Laden's terror network is dead. Ephraim Graham has more of our top stories from the CBN newsroom. Ephraim?
Gordon, Hamza bin Laden, the son of al-Qaeda founder Osama bin Laden, was seen as his natural successor. Officials believe Hamza was being groomed to take over based on documents captured at the Pakistan house where Osama was killed. He also pledged revenge against the United States for his father's death. The U.S. State Department put a $1 million bounty on his head. Now, U.S. military officials are confirming reports he was likely killed sometime in the past 2 years. There are no details of the timing or circumstances of his death, but the officials say U.S. intelligence played a role. I want to turn now to Hong Kong, where continued protests and rising tensions are sparking fears of action by mainland China. Hong Kong police and protesters are clashing in the streets. This comes after news dozens of detained protesters face charges of rioting. The unrest began weeks ago in response to an extradition bill with mainland China. There are now reports of Chinese military or armed police gathering on the border with Hong Kong. But U.S. officials say the nature of the buildup is not clear. And this morning come new reports the White House told officials to be measured in their response to the Hong Kong protests in order to keep stable relations with China during tense trade negotiations. Gordon?
This is absolutely something we all need to be worried about. If China makes a move on Hong Kong and unleashes their military on a civilian population, we could have a catastrophe on the order of Tiananmen Square. And they've never come clean on that. They've never disclosed the number of people that were killed by the Chinese military on the streets of Beijing. So are we going to see a replay of that? China is taking a definite turn into a dictatorship. And they're enforcing a strict ideology. They're enforcing you have to pledge allegiance to the Communist Party, to communist ideology. They're shutting down Christian voices. They're shutting down democracy voices. This is a very situation. And at the same time, we're in trade negotiations. The president has already put tariffs on goods coming out of China in an effort to stop the flow of U.S. dollars to China. It's an unfair trading advantage that they've had for a long period of time. It's really helped their economy to grow. But politically, if they're going to become like a new emperor and say, all the nations around us have to start paying tribute to us and we won't broach any kind of dissent. You can't have free speech. You can't believe anything other than communist ideology. Well, the world needs to wake up to that. That's now a very dangerous China. That's not a China you want to welcome into the world community.